Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this channel is everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my loves. So this is going to be the weekly Astro forecast for the week of June 5th through 11th, 2023. So hopefully this week, the beginning of the week, finds you well and in excellent spirits. We're just coming off the energy of that full moon in Sagittarius that we had on Saturday. So I don't know how y'all are feeling, but I'm feeling pretty good, pretty optimistic, being able to see the bigger picture. And I've been able to really tap into my inner abundance in a way I haven't been able to before. So hopefully you all have experienced the same. I know for some, this full moon was kind of, emotional. Maybe a lot of things needed to be purged. As tough as that may be, the beauty of that is that it leaves room for newness, right? Whatever you're purging, whatever you're getting rid of just leaves room for new programming, for new beliefs, for new ideas, right? We're making room for our expansion and for our personal development. So either way, however this full moon found you, know that it is of your highest good, all right? Of course, if you choose to believe that, and that's up to you, all right? So before we get into everything, all right, let's talk housekeeping and announcements as usual, right? So if you are joining me here in the chat, if you're joining me here live, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you more than you know. Don't forget to say hi and hit that like button on your way in, all right? And if you are catching this on the replay, thank you for tuning in as well. I truly appreciate you just as much, all right? Hopefully you get some valuable information from tonight's broadcast, all right? And if you do, and you don't mind, definitely hit that like button and that subscribe and notification bell if you haven't already. All right. All right. Let's see who we've got in the house tonight. So far we've got Philip Boone. What's up? Thank you so much for being such a loyal supporter. Like, I appreciate you so much. All right. We also have Jermichael. What's going on? I'm so glad that you were able to catch tonight's live. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, my loves. So let's let the good people over on Twitter know that we are live so that they can come and join us. All right. And let's see. So if you are someone that is interested in your horoscope, but you don't like looking at all the stuff on social media and the internet, it's a little too memey or just doesn't hit right, consider subscribing to my text service where you will get your weekly horoscope texted to your phone every Monday morning. And if you are interested, just text the word ZODIAC to 855-826-5544. All right. And if you're interested in that, the information for that will be in the description box below. All right. And if you are someone that is new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or maybe you're not new to astrology, but you realize that it's a lot of information and you're like, oh, how am I going to remember all of this? I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which basically gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying and understanding astrology, namely the planets, the houses, the zodiac signs, and the aspects. This is known as the 4 pillars of astrology, and created this quick little cheat sheet with a summary of all of this stuff so you can start committing it to memory, because regardless of what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is definitely a science, and like a science, requires a good deal of study. So if you are interested, the link to that will be in the description box below. All you need to do is drop your email and you will be good to go. And also, maybe you're a visual learner, right? The cheat sheet is great. Like, it gives you a little summary, but maybe you want a little more meat and potatoes, right? Maybe you're a visual learner. Well, I created a series here on YouTube called How to Read Your Natal Chart. And it goes through each of those 4 pillars in depth. And then the 5th and final video puts it all together. So once you watch the series, you'll have a pretty good foundational basis to start reading your natal chart. So if you're interested in that series, the link to that series will be in the description box below. All right. So that's pretty much it by way of housekeeping and announcements. All right. So let's chat. Let's talk about what's going on this week. So we've got quite a bit of energy shifts because we've got 3 planets that are changing signs this week. So the energy, we're going to be feeling a different dynamic this week in terms of, different topics in our lives. So first, we've got Venus going into Leo, and that's actually going down today. And this is I've been talking about this a lot over the last week and definitely at length in the monthly astro forecast for June that I just did last week. This is a pretty big deal because Venus is going to be in Leo for 4 months. And that's because next month in July, Venus is going to go retrograde in Leo. So this is going to be a couple of months where we are really focused on our love lives, our romantic lives, following our heart, what's truly in our hearts, having the courage to really follow our hearts is going to be a theme over the next couple of months. And when Venus goes retrograde in Leo starting next month until September, this is when we're going to have exes coming back. This is when we're going to be revisiting certain relationships or certain relationship themes. All right. So Venus was just in watery Cancer. So when Venus is in Cancer, Venus is very emotional, soft. It's all about devotion and affection, the emotional side of love and relationships. It's also a lot about following our intuition. It's a very ethereal kind of energy that Venus was just in. But now that Venus is going into Leo, it's time to turn up the volume. It is time to turn up the heat. And it's time for us to really get in touch with what we're passionate about, or maybe even who we are passionate about. All right. So if you are someone who is looking for love, or if love has been on the forefront of your mind in the recent past, get ready because that's just going to ramp up over the next couple of months. All right. So that's the first shift we've got going on. Then we have Mercury making a shift, and Mercury is going to be moving into one of its home signs, which is Gemini. All right. So this is going to be a time when things perhaps get very busy. It's going to be a time when we are really thinking a lot, learning a lot, communicating a lot. This is one of those transits that really fosters being social and putting yourself out there and learning new things, especially things that you're curious about and things that are more like specialized skills. It's not like, oh, let me just learn art. It would be, okay, let me learn how to paint with oil-based paints, right? It's learning specific skills. And this is just going to be a time where people are just more open to communicating and perhaps even expressing themselves. So, Mercury was just in Taurus for a little bit because Mercury had also went retrograde in Taurus. And in Taurus, the energy of Mercury was sort of stifled because Taurus is a very fixed sign. It has a lot of fixed energy. So when Mercury was in Taurus, we may have been a little closed-minded, a little narrow-minded, very conservative in our thinking, reaching out to people, communicating with people. We kind of didn't want to venture out of our comfort zone. It's like, if I know that I talk to you on a regular basis, if I know that I usually deal with you on a regular basis, then cool. But Mercury in Taurus doesn't foster sort of going out there and meeting new people or going out there and making friends or learning anything. Like Taurus is the tried and true. So for the last, I'd want to say 2 months, that's sort of the energy that we've been in. It's been a little stagnant. It's been a little stifled. But now that Mercury is moving into Gemini, this is going to be a time where things get very busy. There's going to be lots of communication. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking and very mixy sort of Gemini energy. All right. And then the third shift we have is Pluto going into Capricorn. Now, Pluto has been retrograde. Did Pluto go retrograde recently? It did. So Pluto first moved into Aquarius back in March. And Pluto went retrograde. I forgot. But fairly recently. And so now that Pluto was retrograde, it was teetering the line between Aquarius and Capricorn. And now Pluto is going to go back into Capricorn. And this is this energy of this just last pass of Pluto going through Capricorn and getting rid of the things that we don't need. So Pluto energy is like a wrecking ball. It decimates whatever is no longer serving us, all right? Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation. And Pluto has been plowing its way through Capricorn for some time. And so we're on the brink of a new generation as Pluto is teetering the line between Aquarius and Capricorn. But with Pluto going retrograde, and now Pluto being in Capricorn, where it will remain until January of 2024, Pluto was like, all right, I'm about to leave Capricorn like for good. So I need to make sure that anything still standing that is not of our highest good, I just knock it down, right? So if you find, you're going to want to look at where Capricorn is in your natal chart. This is where for the rest of the year, you may find that certain things are ending or certain things are transforming in a way that suggests permanency, okay? And so the whole point of Pluto is just to allow, right? Think of, a construction site with a wrecking ball. You can't stop that. You and your little arms or even with your big arms cannot stop a wrecking ball. And sort of the way to deal with Pluto energy is just to allow, right? Death is a natural process of life. It's a natural part of life. And death is merely transformation. Nothing is ever really lost. It just transforms. It just changes form. It transmutes, right? And so this is sort of what's going on right now. So maybe whatever is ending, right, for good. Again, you're going to want to look at where Capricorn is in your natal chart, but maybe whatever's ending is really just transforming in a way that better suits you. Or maybe whatever is ending or leaving or whatever is leaving room for a new structure, for something brand spanking new that is of your highest good. All right. Endings are not a bad thing. And Pluto, the energy of Pluto allows us to embrace that. Okay. So again, those are the 3 planets and, they're all changing signs. So we're going to be feeling these energy shifts this week. So if you feel like things are like, how when you are going up an escalator, or those, better yet, those runways in like the airport, right? And you're on it, and let's say you're not actively walking on it, you're just standing on it and letting it carry you. And then when you get to the end, like when you go to step onto the stationary floor, like you feel this like jolt, like you're kind of like, whoa, like that may be how we feel this week with this energy sort of shifting into high gear, especially with Venus entering Leo and Mercury going into Gemini. All right. So let's get into the highlights and see what we've got going on for the week. Okay. So first we have what I like to call big love, and this is Venus moving into Leo. So this is going to be grand gestures of love. Like I mentioned before, there's going to be this emphasis on our love life, on a romantic life. There's going to be a focus on warmth, generosity, maybe taking some risks. However, there's also going to be a major emphasis and a spotlight on our inner children. And I'm going to get into that once I flesh out, the astrology for the week. But your inner child is probably going to want to come out to play and is definitely going to want a lot of attention. Okay, so this is important. All right, and I'll get more into that in a bit. All right, and then next we have what I like to call Curious George or Georgette. Okay, hopefully you like my little thing there. And that's Mercury and Gemini. Gemini is the most curious sign of the zodiac. Okay, and Gemini energy allows us to indulge in our curiosities. It's like, I wonder what that is. Let me explore. Let me learn more. Let me talk to people about this. Let me communicate with people about this, right? So this is going to be about indulging in your curiosity, learning new things, and communicating with people in a way that we haven't been able to in the last couple of months, all right? And then finally, we have what I like to call inner intensity, and this is Pluto retrograde. So not only is Pluto making its last pass through Capricorn, it's also going to allow us to go within. This is transformation from the inside out, okay? So it's not even just about things in your outer reality that may be ending, leaving, or transforming, right? This is about your inner world doing the same. Now, one of the things that I love about Pluto is that Pluto allows you to get to the root of things, especially think of it like a tree. Trees have deep roots, but if you have a root that's like rotten, right, it sort of prevents the tree from growing properly or at least reaching its highest potential. Pluto retrograde allows you to get to the root of the rot so that you can take it out and so that you can grow properly. And so this is sort of what we're going to be doing while Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, okay? It may also have a lot to do with our inner structures and boundaries. There may be this undercurrent of energy with respect to work and career because Capricorn is a sign that's concerned with those things. But most importantly, like I said before, it's transformation from the inside out, all right? So let's take a look at the week and see exactly what we've got. So today we've got Venus in Leo, we've got Venus opposite Pluto, and then we have the moon in Capricorn. And then on Wednesday, we've got Venus square the North Node, the moon in Aquarius. Then on Friday, we've got Mercury sextile Neptune and the moon moving into Pisces. Then on Saturday, we've got the sun sextile Chiron. And then Sunday, we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. We've got Mercury trine Pluto, Venus square Jupiter, Mercury moving into Gemini, Pluto moving into Capricorn, and the moon moving into Aries. All right. So like I said, major energy shifts for the week. All right. So let's talk about today, what we've got going on today. All right. So first and foremost, we've got Venus moving into Leo, which is sort of the star transit of the week, in my opinion. And you'll see Venus in Leo, 0 degrees Leo, towards the bottom left-hand portion of the chart. Then Venus is also going to oppose Pluto. So Pluto retrograde is still in Aquarius at this point. So it's 0 degrees Aquarius. Venus is 0 degrees Leo. So they're going to be opposite each other. And then finally, we have the moon moving into Capricorn, which you'll see at the right-hand portion of the chart. Moon in Capricorn. All right, so let's discuss. So Venus in Leo. Like I said, Venus will be in Leo from today until about October 8th. And during that time, between July and September, Venus will be retrograde. But for now, for June, Venus is moving direct in Leo. So this is all about romantic love. This is about having the courage to follow our heart, really tapping into the things that we are truly passionate about. There's also this element of self-expression. Leo loves to express itself, especially authentically. And so during this time, many of us may be urged to express ourselves via certain creative endeavors. Maybe there's something that really speaks to you in terms of artistic creativity. And Venus in Leo is going to sort of urge you to act on that. Have the courage to really take your craft or take your creativity and show it to people, express it, right? Maybe you're someone who has a corporate job, but you love to paint. And maybe over the last couple of months, you come home from work, it's a nice way to relax or whatever. I feel like Venus and Leo is going to be like, listen, maybe you should show this to people. Maybe you should start posting some stuff on the internet, really putting yourself out there. So that's always a nice thing. Now, Leo as a sign tends to be very dramatic, very grand. Think of like a king, right? Or even an actor who is the star of the show. That's very characteristic of Leo energy. And so when we're talking about Venus in Leo, this is love that's very dramatic, okay? Now, one of the things that I was sort of meditating on over the last couple of days was this very transit because, it's pretty significant at this time. And, I feel like you're going to see this play out in two different ways. You have the lower vibrational way and the higher vibrational way. So when I say love is dramatic, that lower vibrational way, you're going to see people who are doing lower vibrational things, right? This is cheating. This is, ghosting people, all of the low vibrational stuff that people don't like in relationships, but tend to feed into. You're going to see a lot of that while Venus is in Leo, okay? Or you may see that in a very high vibrational way. This is grand gestures of love, being courageous enough to really open your heart to someone and experience love on a higher and a deeper level. Okay. So the choice is always yours, whether you want to feed into the lower vibrational stuff or you want to tap into the higher vibrations of love, but both are simultaneously available to you. And I feel like both are going to be extremely highlighted over the next couple of months. So it's really important to figure out where you stand and which one you want. Okay. Another thing in terms of drama, right, is that Leo energy loves attention, loves to feel adored and admired, right? Kind of like being put on a pedestal. And so you're going to see a lot of that play out while Venus is in Leo as well. And again, there's going to be a lower vibrational element to that and a higher vibrational element to that. On the lower end, this is people being prideful, being egotistical, sort of putting themselves ahead of the relationship, and also sort of creating an imbalance of power. So if you or your partner is on the pedestal, where does that put the other person, right? They're looking up at you, right? it creates an imbalance of power. And so this is when you're going to see relationships start to fall apart, because an imbalance of power in a relationship is never a good thing. Definitely not if you want to sustain a relationship. However, the higher sort of vibrational aspect of that is admiration for your partner and adoration in a healthy sort of way. It's not putting your partner down, but more so lifting them up, right? And you do that for each other. And so again, both are going to be simultaneously available to you. It's really about which one you want to tap into. But either way, both of those are going to be very much highlighted during this transit, okay? Leo energy has a lot to do with pride. And I don't think that pride is a bad thing in and of itself. Pride is not inherently bad. Of course, it's all about how you use it. We should all have a healthy sense of pride. One of the hallmarks of Leo energy is that they are the leader, right? They are confident. They have a lot of willpower. They are self-assured, right? That's having a healthy sense of pride. But again, you don't want to fall into those lower vibrations of just being prideful, egotistical, like, yes, we all want to be the star of our own show, right? But we shouldn't treat our partners like the help or the stage hand, right? Like, everyone has their part to play, and we can take turns. Like, I'm the star this week, you're the star next week, or you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like, we can both be on the pedestal together. And I feel like that is going to be one of the running themes for this transit of Venus and Leo. Now, this is also going to have a lot to do with what is in your heart. I feel like the contents of people's hearts are going to be front and center. It's almost like we're going to really understand what people truly value in their hearts. And I feel like people are going to be acting in accordance to that. And what I mean by that is, if you have a pure heart, if you are emanating pure love, that's going to be felt, and that's sort of going to be highlighted. Whereas if you're doing everything merely for show, merely for ego, that's going to be highlighted also, and people are also going to see that, right? One of the negative aspects of this transit is that it's like grand gestures of love with absolutely no substance. This is like doing things for the gram. This is wanting people to look at you a certain way, wanting to appear a certain way, but there's no substance. And I'm sure that we've all known or heard of couples who look great on paper. You know, they go out and they've got matching outfits and they're really doing the thing, but they have a loveless relationship. A lot of that is going to be highlighted too. And these lower vibrational things being highlighted, that's ultimately a good thing. Because in any sort of relationship, you really want to know where people's hearts are or what their motivations are. And I feel like Venus in Leo is going to highlight all of those things, okay? But on the brighter side, Leo energy is also very warm and generous. So I feel like all relationships, especially romantic ones, are going to have this energy of love and generosity and warmth to them. So being able to feel those things from our partners, but most importantly, tapping into that energy and being able to give it to ourselves in sort of a greater way right now is going to be a really good thing. I think that one of the other things that's going to be highlighted with this transit is self-love. Self-love and, the love that you want to receive from others, giving it to yourself first. By doing so, it's only going to be reflected back to you via your relationship. So a lot of love, a lot of heart-centered energy is going to be coming through with this particular transit. Now, what I mentioned before is that this transit has a lot to do with your inner child, okay? Apart from all of the other things I said about Leo energy, it represents the inner child. It represents children. And you know how children just have this sort of free and lighthearted energy, okay? But with Venus in Leo, many of us are going to be confronted with our inner children. And these inner children are going to want all the attention. That's sort of like what the example I gave before. You know how I said maybe you work a corporate job, but you come home every night and you sort of paint, maybe as a relaxation thing. that really could be an expression of your inner child. And your inner child is like, listen, I want to do more of this. This is fun. Why can't we do this for a job? Why do we have to go to that office and sit all day? I don't want to do that. I want to paint. Okay. In that little child voice. And you're going to be like, whoa, like, where is this coming from? I haven't heard you speak in a long time. Right? So many of us are going to be confronted with our inner children. And our inner children deserve attention. Okay. Children have the purest hearts. They don't know how not to, right? Especially when you're talking about little children, before they've been conditioned, before they've been jaded by society, their hearts are just so pure, right? And that is the energy that you tap into when you listen to your inner child, when you address your inner child. You address that inner purity, that inner innocence that just wants to live, right? Wants to live, wants to have fun, wants to enjoy life. Okay. And I feel like in doing so, in addressing your inner child, in listening to what your inner child has to say, it's like it sort of makes life a little more enjoyable. It makes life fun above anything else. This Venus in Leo transit, it may have a lot going on, especially on the relationship front. But if we're talking about addressing our inner child, the whole point of this transit is to get you to love life again, right? It's to get you to love and enjoy what you do, to get you to express your authentic self and understand that doing so is sort of how you are designed to be. And in being your authentic self, that is how you attract true love to you, right? So above all else, if there's nothing else that you glean from this particular transit, understand that it's about addressing and listening to your inner child. And again, you're going to want to look at where Leo is in your chart so you can figure out exactly how this is playing out, right? However, because Venus is about relationships and Leo is about the heart, this transit has a lot to do with romance, with love. For some, this transit may be all about children. So maybe you have children, or maybe children are a significant part of your life. I think those relationships are going to be seriously highlighted during this transit. All right. Then as Venus moves into Leo, it is going to oppose Pluto in Aquarius. Okay. And so as if relationships aren't highlighted enough with Venus in Leo, Venus opposing Pluto is all about intensity in relationships. Okay. This is relationship drama, manipulation. Basically, the best way to think about this particular transit, this Venus opposite Pluto. Remember, I was just talking before about the lower vibrational aspects of Venus and Leo, like lying, cheating, all of that sort of reality TV kind of shit. Yeah, that becomes intensified with Venus opposing Pluto. So this is like obsession, obsessive compulsive behavior, manipulation, jealousy. It can be a very intense time, especially when it comes to relationships. Now, keep in mind, if your relationship is on solid ground and you don't have a lot of that negativity and low vibrational energy running all up through it, then this particular transit might not affect you. Or it'll affect you in a very sort of minimal kind of way. However, if you already have a lot of these things present in your relationship, I feel like this particular transit is going to put extra pressure on these things, and for good reason. Remember, I said before, Pluto is all about finding the rot, right? Like I said before, you've got a tree that's got deep roots. One of those roots is rotten, right? It's going to prevent the tree from properly growing. So if you have a relationship that's got a lot of rot in it, that's got a lot of jealousy, manipulation, all that kind of stuff, cheating, all of that, Pluto putting pressure on that is to get you to probably break up, is to get you to get right. If you can come to a point where the both of you can decide, okay, yeah, we still want to do this, but we realize we need to fix ourselves or whatever, that's great. But most of the time, this particular transit lends itself to breakups, to separations. It's almost like the straw that breaks the camel's back in a way. Okay. So be mindful of that. But again, if you've got a solid relationship and it's healthy, then this particular transit shouldn't affect you too much. All right. Then we've also got the moon moving into Capricorn tonight. So We're fresh off the heels of the full moon in Sagittarius, which hopefully had you feeling optimistic, seeing the big picture, all of that stuff. So now we move into Capricorn, where things get a little more serious. Moon in Capricorn can be a very sobering kind of moon because we're able to be aware of the need for structure and boundaries in our life. That energy of Sagittarius, it's like to the moon, right? It's so grand. It's so far. It's so high. It's so higher consciousness. And Capricorn kind of reins that back in, right? We can't be boundaryless. We need to have boundaries. We need to have structure. And when the moon is in Capricorn, we become aware of this. And providing boundaries and structure in our lives is where we derive our emotional satisfaction when the moon is in Capricorn. One of the other things that makes us feel good when the moon is in Capricorn is achievement and success. So this, maybe you got like a lot of ideas or maybe inspiration or downloads during this previous full moon, right? Capricorn is like, all right, now I have the bigger picture. I know what I want to do. Now it's time for me to put a plan together to make this happen. I want to reach the finish line. I want to achieve this goal. How do I do that? Crafting a plan and sort of putting things together, setting up boundaries, being disciplined, being diligent and working towards that big picture, right? That is how we derive our satisfaction when the moon is in Capricorn. Now, because we just came off a full moon, this week the moon is in the waning phase. So part of that, bigger picture and achieving that bigger picture is indeed setting up boundaries. It's understanding that if I want to go in this direction, anything that's leading me in this direction it's not what I need to be doing. It's not where I need to be putting my focus or my energy. So having the discipline to stick to the script and stick to that, keep your eyes on the prize, basically. That is how you are going to use this energy at this time. And again, it's sort of saying no to anything that's not in alignment with the achievement of your goals or the successful completion of your goals. All right. So that's today. Let's see what else we got for the rest of the week. All right, so then on Wednesday, we've got Venus square the North Node, and we have the moon moving into Aquarius. So you'll see Venus at 2 degrees Leo at the left-hand portion of the chart, and you will see the North Node at the upper right-hand portion of the chart at around 3 or 2 degrees. And then you see the moon in Aquarius, well, at the time of this chart, when I pulled the chart, is at 4 degrees, right? And it's also going to conjunct Pluto as it makes its way through Aquarius, okay? So Venus square North Node. The easiest way to think about this transit is relationships that get in the way of your destiny. So, I just talked about Venus and Leo and how it's all about, relationships. Then I talked about the lower vibrations of those relationships and all of that foolishness and fuckery that can go on, right? Then you've got Venus opposite Pluto, which is going to add intensity. It's going to add fuel to the fire, especially if you have some of those low vibrational aspects in your relationship. Venus square the North Node is it's really where the rubber meets the road. Like if you've been holding on to a relationship for the wrong reasons, if your relationship has not been working, but you're like, I don't know what to do. If you've been dragging your feet about what to do, Venus square the North Node, like there's something about this week that people are just going to be like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this anymore. It's going to show you how not in alignment your relationship may be, especially with your higher purpose. Relationships are a tricky thing, right? It's one of our favorite topics. Whenever people want to know about astrology, especially their personal astrology, relationships and money are usually the two topics that most people want to know about. And funny enough, both of those topics are covered by Venus, right? And we live in a society where, especially like if you're a woman, you're conditioned that a relationship, that's a status thing, right? If you're single, like, what are you doing? Like, we're spoon-fed this idea that relationships are the be-all, end-all. And it's not to say that they aren't. Like, relationships are a very necessary part of life. Don't get it twisted. But the way the society is set up, like we're very much conditioned to hold on to bullshit, hold on to relationships that aren't working, hold on to relationships that are superficial, hold on to relationships that aren't of our highest good for the sake of having a relationship, right? There's something about this. Let me not say there's something about this week. The astrology of this week, particularly the beginning of this week, is like, listen, if you are holding on to a relationship for the wrong reason, I'm sorry to tell you, not only is it not going to last, it's taking you farther away from where and who you need to be. We are at a time right now, a very interesting, a very unique time where the vibration of the earth is rising. Like just like many of us are ascending, the earth itself is ascending. And things that were okay or passable in the past just don't cut it anymore. Like there could have been a time where you were really in a bullshit ass relationship and that shit, you could have rolled that out for the rest of your life. Not anymore, especially if you are someone who is ascending, if you are someone who is waking up. One of the last couple of weeks for me have been full of revelations. And I actually have some videos that I'm recording on some messages and downloads that I've gotten. Really powerful stuff. But one of the things that I have been told is that if you are ascending, if you are on the spiritual journey, if you are doing the work, a regular relationship is not for you. And sometimes this looks like being single for a long time and wondering like, what's wrong with me? How come I see everyone else with someone? How come I don't have a good relationship? Or how is it that I'm in relationships and they don't last? That's because you're not meant for regular relationships. Here's the thing. And if you've watched any of my lives or videos, you know, I say this ad nauseum. Relationships are a reflection of you. If you are vibing high, where do you think your counterpart has to be vibing as well? You can't take someone who's on some regular shit. And when I say regular, I don't mean it in a derogatory or mean sort of way. I mean, if you are pouring into yourself, if you are bettering yourself, if you are aligning with your higher self, you can't be with someone who's not doing the same thing. It's not going to work. It's not an energetic match, right? And that shit sucks sometimes because sometimes we're human. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And many of us are tapping into our divinity and it's great, right? But there needs to be balance because we're human. We're still here on this rock, right? And so, yeah, sometimes we want companionship. We want to be booed up, right? We want to do cute little things together. Like, of course. But the way that things are going right now, you can't have that on some bullshit. You can't. And especially for people who hear this message, who heed this message, I know that I'm talking to you. I'm talking to myself too. Let's be real. But you cannot be with people that are not an energetic match. One of the things that came through so strongly for me over the last couple of weeks is that love is pure. Love in itself is pure. Love is not hurtful. It's not any of those things. Love is pure. And when you find true love, it requires purification. Purification through fire. And let me explain what that means. So, and I'm so excited. I have a live scheduled with my boy, Rob Blackstorm, next week about twin flames and soulmates and all that stuff. Like, I was someone who was on the twin flame journey for a while. And then I sort of got off it because I'm like, this is bullshit, whatever. I gleaned the lesson from it, right? It's all about getting yourself. It's all about you, right? Relationships are typically about you first and foremost. But over the last couple of months, this whole twin flame thing has really been knocking on my door, but in a different sort of way. I'm seeing it from a higher perspective. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when you are in a relationship that is truly divine, okay, it's sponsored by spirit is what I like to say. It requires purification. Love cannot live in a place that is not pure. And what does that purification looks like? It looks like you getting in alignment with your higher self, whether it's with your partner or not. So all of the things that are impure are going to come out. They're going to come up to the surface to be released. And what this may look like, it may look like complete chaos, right? Or it may look like, yo, we're not supposed to be together because all of this shit is happening. But if it is truly a divine union, you will take that and you will direct that inward. And you will be able to purify yourself. Your counterpart purifies themselves, and then you come together and experience love the way it is meant to be experienced, which is in purity. And so it kind of touches on this whole twin flame thing, although I still hate that phrase. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I hate that phrase. But I say all of this to say that the astrology for the beginning of the week is like, listen, if you are in a relationship that is not pure love, it's not going to work. You are going to feel such intense pressure. You are going to be shown where you're supposed to be going and how that relationship may be holding you back. You may be forced and pushed or pulled out of your comfort zone. And maybe your partner or your counterpart cannot come with you. Or maybe they can't join you at this juncture, but maybe they can join you later on, right? So if you find that you are hitting brick walls and obstacles in your relationships this week, understand that it is for a higher purpose. And if it's truly a union that is divine, or that you really, both of you, want to experience true love through it, then you'll know exactly what you need to do. And what you need to do is get right within yourself first. Okay. So yeah. So Venus square North Node, it's really like, you got relationships that are holding you back. Like, one of the things that came to me when I was preparing for this live is like, you ever seen or known like a couple, and like maybe one of the people is overweight, and then once they start losing weight, their partner starts treating them differently. Like, they liked them overweight. Maybe they liked them insecure. Maybe they liked them, not self-assured. And then once that person started building themselves up, getting sexy, getting fit, getting healthy, that person started treating them weird. Like, that's kind of how this transit may feel to some people. You bettering yourself may just bring out the demons in your partner or your counterpart. Real talk. And that's how you know. That's kind of the litmus test to let you know that maybe this isn't it. Maybe this is the time for you to focus on yourself. And when you're vibing high, maybe that person will do the same kind of work to match you. But if not, you will find someone who is an energetic match. But again, if you're vibing high, you can't be with someone who's not doing the same. Okay? So that's Venus square the North Node. And then we have the moon moving into Aquarius. Okay? And so when the moon is in Aquarius, we're attracted to things that are new and unusual. We have this instinctive need for improvement. And because the moon is in the waning phase, whatever is like holding us back, right? Whatever is not new and improved is going to kind of be chucked out the window. Look at the example I just gave. Like, you're trying to lose weight and stuff like that. You can't be eating a whole cake. You can't be not exercising, right? So anything that is not in alignment with sort of your best self, with, again, this need for improvement, is going to go out the window. But Aquarius is an intellectual sign. It's an air sign. So this is also a moon where we are talking to people, where we're brainstorming, when we're thinking of a master plan for the future. So especially with all of this relationship energy going on, it really is a good time to sort of sit down and think about, what do I want my future to look like? What kind of partnership do I truly want? How can I be my authentic self? And how can I find someone who loves my authentic self and allows me to be my authentic self? I feel like these are some of the questions that we're going to be asking. And if you're with somebody, you may be asking yourself, well, does this person love me authentically? Will this person still love me if I improve, right? Like, can this person improve with me? Can we improve our relationship? I feel like these are some of the questions that we are going to be asking ourselves with this particular moon in Aquarius. All right, let's keep it moving. All right. So then on Friday, we've got Mercury sextile Neptune. So Mercury is currently in Taurus at 27 degrees. Then we've got Neptune at 27 degrees Pisces. And then we also have the moon moving into Pisces, okay, where it will actually conjunct Saturn while in there. So while the moon makes its way through Pisces, it's going to hit Saturn and it's going to hit Neptune. All right. So first up, we've got Mercury sextile Neptune. So this is a great transit for relaxation, creativity, communication, and spiritual pursuits. You know, Mercury is all about thoughts, and Neptune has a lot to do with spirituality. It has a lot to do with our inner world. So this is a great time for relaxation, for meditation, for tapping into your inner creativity. And to just like chill out, really. Mercury, especially with that, mercurial energy, can really have your mind on overdrive. Mercury is very fast moving energy. And in Neptune, Mercury slows down a bit. It's a great time to relax. And when we relax our mind, we can really drop our consciousness and our awareness to our heart. And that is where our heart and, our sacral chakra. And that's where we create. And that's why this particular transit definitely fosters creativity, because you're not so much thinking about, okay, how do I create something dope? You're kind of just feeling your way through it. You're kind of just allowing the creativity to arise naturally. So if you are someone who works in a creative field, or maybe you just like to create, for the sake of it, this is one of those times where it's like, don't think about it so much. Just do. Just pick up a pen and start writing. Bust out the keyboard and start, hitting certain notes. Pull out that paintbrush and just start painting whatever sort of inspires you. Okay. This is also a great time for receiving spiritual information. So this is one of those transits where you would definitely like receive downloads, intuitive nudges, promptings, premonitions, visions. You'll want to pay attention to your dream state, because you may experience and you may receive some really important information via the dream state, okay? It's definitely a time where you want to study things like astrology, spirituality, philosophy, things like that. Studying those things is fine during this transit, but this transit isn't great for doing very detailed work or even very corporate kind of work. Like, this is really just allowing yourself to go with the flow, create as you're inspired, and, research and study the things that really interest you. Okay. It's great for socializing, going to the movies, listening to music. Like, this is one of those particular transits. Like, if you are someone who's like a music producer or you're a songwriter, like, you're gonna just want to chill and see what comes up. I really think that when it comes to musicians, I always used to say music is inspired by God. Like, true musicianship is inspired by God. And I really think that if you are a musician, producer, whatever, if you were to track the astrology, I feel like when you have a transit such as this, such as Mercury sextile Neptune, you'll find that you're probably a lot more productive or a lot more creative during these sort of transits. So again, if you're into anything creative, like, just tap in. This is not a time to think, oh, how do I create the next hit song, or how do I make the most money? Let me create a painting that's going to like really sell a lot of money. No, this is a time when you really tap into your inner creativity and just let it live. All right. So it's a nice transit, to say the least. Then we have the moon moving into Pisces. Whenever the moon is in Pisces, it's pretty emotional. It's pretty flowy, right? It bodes well with this Mercury sextile Neptune transit, because tapping into your inner creativity is the essence of Pisces energy. So again, I feel like Friday and into the weekend is going to be a time when people are going to really feel inspired to create things. I also feel like this moon lends itself to a lot of vivid dreams, premonitions, telepathy. All of that stuff thrives when the moon is in Pisces. All right. Now, like I said before, the moon is going to actually conjunct Saturn while it is in Pisces. And so this is sort of going to be getting your sort of getting a rein on your inner world. So, you know how I said before about inner structures, especially when I was talking about Pluto in Capricorn. I feel like with the moon in Pisces and sort of conjuncting Saturn, it's going to be a time when you kind of have to set boundaries, perhaps even spiritual boundaries, when it comes to either dealing with other people, or if you are, dealing with spirit directly, maybe you sort of need to structure things a little bit more. But it's just going to add this element of realness and groundedness to all of that ethereal Pisces energy. And again, you're going to want to pay attention to your dreams. Definitely keep a dream journal handy. And this is going to be a time, of course, because the moon is in the waning phase. This is going to be a time when you sort of assess your inner world and figure out what no longer serves you. Maybe it's a particular spiritual practice. Maybe it's a particular ideology. Getting rid of what no longer serves you is going to be excellent at this time. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so next up on Saturday, we've got the Sun sextile Chiron. So Chiron is at 19 degrees Aries, and the Sun is going to be at 19 degrees Gemini. All right, so Chiron is not a planet, it's an asteroid, and Chiron really has a lot to do with our wounds, our emotional wounds, and maybe even our insecurities, okay? So when the Sun is sextile Chiron, we can kind of really understand what these emotional wounds and what these traumas and insecurities are. And because it's a sextile, not only are we going to be aware of them, but I feel like opportunities are going to present themselves where we can actually make strides in healing some of these wounds and addressing some of these insecurities. It's also a pretty positive aspect too. So we tend to be looked upon favorably by others. There are going to be a lot of opportunities that are going to present themselves that will allow you to overcome some of these fears and insecurities. And I feel like people are just going to find you more appealing and charming, just by being yourself. There's going to be like something about like, you know how when you may see someone on the internet or maybe even on TV or whatever, and you just relate to them because they're like real, you can tell that they're like a real person and they have real issues just like you. That's what this transit really reminds me of. Like people are looking at you favorably because they see the real you, insecurities and all. And thankfully, it's a positive transit. So it's not like people see your insecurities and try to play you or try to take advantage of you. It's like people sort of admire you for being the real, authentic you, insecurities and all. So if you come across opportunities that maybe allow you to overcome these things, I would definitely take them. Let's say you have like Chiron. Well, now I'm getting into sort of personal transits, but with Chiron in Aries could really have you feeling insecure about how you look, maybe about your body. Okay. And with the Sun in Gemini, this is really like people admiring you because you embrace all your curves, or you embrace your flat butt, or you embrace whatever body insecurities you have, right? I feel like people are going to admire you for that. So suffice it to say, I feel like this particular transit is all about you being your authentic self and, finding opportunities to embrace that authentic self and overcome those insecurities and those emotional wounds. Okay. So that's Sun sextile Chiron. Let's see what else we got for the week. All right, so Sunday, we've got quite a few things going on. Okay, we've got Mercury moving into Gemini. We've got Pluto retrograde moving into Capricorn. We've got Mercury trine Pluto. We've got Venus square Jupiter. And we've got the moon moving into Aries. Lots going on. Okay. So first up, I definitely already talked about Mercury in Gemini and Pluto in Capricorn, but of course it bears mentioning again. Mercury entering Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn. I meant to say Mercury in Gemini. Gemini is one of Mercury's home signs. So when Mercury is in its home sign, Mercury really shows out, okay? So again, it's a very busybody sort of energy, very communicative, very curious, all of that, just textbook Mercury in Gemini kind of energy, okay? It's great for things like sales. It's great for things like negotiations. It's great for things like debates, think tanks, anything having to do with learning, with communicating, with paperwork really thrives under this transit. And again, it's really textbook kind of stuff. Now, the one thing that I will mention about this particular transit is that it does have this undercurrent of anxiety and nervousness because it's that very busybody kind of energy. So, your mind may be on overdrive. You may be doing the most. Like, this is the time where you want to ramp up sales. When you are negotiating, you've got your email inbox is full, like all of that kind of stuff. So it may lend itself to anxiety and a bit of nervousness. So make sure that you don't burn out. Make sure that you allow yourself some time, probably to do some mindless kind of things and just relax. But thankfully, Mercury won't be in Gemini for too long. It'll really be in Gemini for 2 weeks, like maybe even a little less than 2 weeks. So that busybody energy is not going to last too long. All right. But you're definitely going to want to make the most of it. This is the time, again, to communicate with people. If there's something that you want to learn, go for it. If there's something that you need to say, that you want to experience, that you want to again learn, maybe again you want to ramp up sales, maybe you have negotiations, maybe you're debating, all of those kind of things, you're going to want to take advantage of the energy and do it now. All right. And then next up, we've got Pluto and Capricorn. And like I said before, this is Pluto's last sort of pass through Capricorn. It's going to be pretty slow because Pluto is not going to move back into Aquarius until January of 2024. So for the rest of the year, Pluto will be in Capricorn. And again, whatever structures in society and in our lives that are not of our highest good are going to be decimated. Now, because Pluto is retrograde, we're taking this energy and we're putting it inward. We're directing it inward so that this energy of transformation, of regeneration, we can use for our inner world. So whatever is not serving you, whatever bad habits, whatever obsessions you may have, Pluto in Capricorn is going to help you get rid of them, or is going to give you the opportunities to get rid of them. Okay. So you're going to want to look at where Capricorn is in your chart and see what in that area of life may not be the best for you. What structures are you adhering to that no longer serve you? What jobs or career are you currently in that's just not doing it for you? Okay. I want to say that is the thing that I've been hearing the most over like the last 2 years, definitely since the pandemic. People are realizing, and I think this was one of the godsends of the pandemic, like people are realizing, I don't need this job. Not only do I don't need it, I don't want it. This is not doing it for me. This doesn't make sense to me. I'm not being fulfilled, or maybe I'm just filling somebody else's pockets and, to the detriment of my own. Like, I feel like a lot of people have gotten a wake-up call when it comes to their career or what they do for work, right? And again, Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn is like trying to help you figure out, so maybe if working in corporate America isn't for you, then what is? What kind of job should I do? Pluto isn't just about death. It's also about rebirth. And with all of this energy surrounding our inner child with Venus and Leo, some of you may be really listening to that inner child and being like, listen, I am not going to work this corporate 9 to 5. Like, I'm going to do ceramics all fucking day and make money that way. Like, I have a handmade ceramics business, or paint, or do music, or whatever. Like, I really feel like this year, from now until the end of the year, you may see and hear of people doing these really drastic career changes. Because it's time. It's time. All right. So then we also have Mercury trine Pluto the same day. All right. So this is You know how I talked about, Venus was opposite Pluto earlier in the week and it adds intensity to relationships. Anytime you have a Pluto transit, it always adds intensity. But Mercury trine Pluto, it adds intensity to your thinking and to your communication. This is one of those transits where if you have a favor to ask, if you want to sell somebody something, if you want to convince people of things, this is going to be the transit where it's going to be extremely easy to do so. Okay. It's one of those things where people just think you have a beautiful mind, or they're just mesmerized by the things that you say, or they really agree with you. Like they really see your point of the story, right? Like, again, it's great for favors. It's great for asking for things, convincing people of things, all that kind of stuff. It's also good for research and investigation. So again, if you want to learn something, that Pluto is going to add intensity to that desire to learn. So it's going to it's sort of going to give you the motivation to go deeper. If you're investigating something, if you're trying to get to the bottom of something, Pluto, the presence of Pluto trine to Mercury will definitely, it'll have you like a private detective, have you like a PI. So whatever you need to know, like whatever you need to do, whatever you need to find out, whatever secrets need to be uncovered, they can definitely be uncovered with that particular transit. It's also great for self-analysis. So this is great for shadow work. This is great for examining your psyche. It's great for things like therapy and psychoanalysis. Like you can really get to the heart of certain issues with this particular transit. Okay. It's also good for things like past life regression, which I've been seeing a lot of lately. I don't know if it's because I'm tapped into it, but something about past life regression has been hitting like crazy recently. Dream recall, telepathy, remote viewing, all of that stuff thrives under this transit. All right. So kind of expect the unexpected. I wouldn't say expect the unexpected like anything having to do with Uranus, but you can really tap into some deep shit with this particular transit. And I think it's definitely a good thing. Okay. The next up, we have Venus square Jupiter. Okay. So this is a great transit for having fun, but definitely not for getting work done. It's a day where you feel happy, optimistic, where you just maybe want to be lazy or comfortable or indulge in some good things. Okay. It's just one of those feel good transits where you can just really have fun, not be too serious, all of that kind of stuff. Now, the one thing I will say about this transit is that it definitely lends itself to excess. So you may not want to have too much fun. You may not want to have too much food. You may not want to spend too much money, all right? Because it's probably going to be to your detriment more so than anything else. Things like gluttony are really a thing with this particular transit, all right? So practice moderation if you can. The other thing I will say about this transit, especially with all of the other relationship stuff that's been going on this week, this transit is going to remind you to not lower your standards, especially if you are dating, okay? It's almost like, how I talked about before, like if you're not an energetic match, it's just not going to work, right? The way I think about this is like, the stove is hot, but you put your hand on it anyway. It's like, that's sort of how this is. Like if you lower your standards just for the sake of having a relationship or for any other superficial reason, like you're going to get burned almost immediately. Okay. So definitely keep that in mind. And then speaking of burned, the last thing we have for the week is the moon in Aries. Aries, that fire energy, that initiating energy. So whenever the moon is in Aries, we want to start things new. We want to start new things, and in a very bold and dynamic sort of way. Like Aries gives no fucks. Aries just wants to go, just wants to do. Aries definitely leaps before it looks, okay? Now, because the moon is in the waning phase, it's almost like, have you ever done like a deep spring cleaning? And rather than, sometimes you may feel like, okay, I've got all of this stuff. Let me go through it and see what I want and what I don't want, and maybe figure out why I want to keep this or whatever. Like you have a thought process with respect to organizing and keeping certain things. Moon in Aries is the exact opposite. Rather than think about what you want to keep and not keep, you're ready to just throw everything away. It's like throw everything away so we can start new. And which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? But keep in mind that in wanting to just throw everything away, you may throw some things out that are valuable. Okay. So don't be too impulsive. Don't be so quick to have a fresh start and a new beginning that you throw out some things that are important to you. And those things could be physical, they could be mental, they could be emotional, they could be spiritual. Take some time, take a little bit of thought to think about things before you just chuck them and kick them to the curb. All right. But again, it's a great time to start new things and to completely get rid of the things that no longer serve us. All right. So, my friends, that is pretty much the week in a nutshell. Like I said, lots going on. However, a lot can be done with what's going on, right? You always have the choice. I always say these lives are to get you to understand what the energy is so you can use it so that it does not use you. And so this week, there's a lot that can be done in terms of relationships. There is a lot that can be done in terms of overcoming our insecurities. We can, get a little deeper with ourselves. We can have some fun. Like, there's a lot at your disposal. It all depends on how you use it. All right. So now we are at the portion where I am going to pull some cards for messages from spirit. All right. You know that I do these by signs. However, it's all about what resonates, whether it's your sun, your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Jupiter, whatever. If it resonates, it resonates. All right. So first up, we've got Aries. Let's see what we have for Aries for this week. All right, Aries. We've got the Magician. So you guys are feeling, I heard high and mighty, but I don't think they mean it in like a prideful sort of way. I feel like you are really about creation this week, conscious creation. Understand that the Magician has all of the tools that he or she needs to make things happen. So this is more about understanding what you've got in order to get to where you want to go. But I definitely see you guys being creative, being conscious about the things that you want and really just going for it. So some of you are really going to be into manifesting this week, or some of you are going to have your sights set on one particular thing. And I feel like you're going to go really hard with it. And that is definitely a good thing. I mean, by doing that, like, success is definitely assured. Okay. Next up, we've got Taurus. All right, Taurus, we've got the King of Swords. Someone has made a decision. You see how he's sitting upright with his sword sort of in the air? Someone has made a decision and they are ready to communicate this decision. They're like, okay, I've thought this over. You can see that there aren't too many clouds. So someone is very clear on something. This could be you, or this could be someone else. But I feel like there's going to be some sort of communication about a decision that's been made, or just some sort of communication in general. Like someone's like, I haven't spoken to her in a while, or I haven't spoken to him in a while. Let me reach out, right? So I definitely see communication in your energy for this week, all right? For some, this may be the need to make a decision, and you're not as confused as maybe you think you are. You may just be hesitant in making a decision, but you're pretty clear on which direction you want to go. So just make the decision. It's time to get very cut and dry on what it is that you want to do, and then communicate that. Right? Next up, we've got Gemini. Let's see what we've got for Gemini for this week. All right, Gemini, we've got the 8 of Swords. Gemini, you've got something on your mind. Like, you've actually been obsessing over something or someone. Like you are just, I'm hearing enamored. So I don't know if you have someone on your mind that you're thinking about a lot, or there's some particular topic or subject that like has you captivated. Like you are sort of being held captive with this particular thought, idea, or person. And I get the sense that it's not a bad thing, but I really do think that this topic or this person is really consuming all of your thoughts. And Spirit is saying that in and of itself is not the issue, but make sure that your obsession or obsessive thinking about this is not to the detriment of other things. Like, don't be so consumed by this topic that you're not taking care of your responsibilities or that you're not like going to work or something like that. Like, it's fine that this thing is captivating you, but make sure that you still have the ability to do what you need to do in your everyday life. Okay. Now we have Cancer. Let's see what we have for Cancer. All right, Cancer. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. And we've got the Eight of Pentacles. This is definitely giving me Jupiter in Taurus vibes, okay? So essentially, Cancer, I see money looking good. So I see maybe a new job or a promotion, but I feel like on the work front, you are expanding, you are experiencing more, you're getting more. For some, you have really mastered your craft, like you're growing in your ability to perform or do whatever it is that you do. And as a result of that, you're getting more accolades and you're getting more money. So Cancer, keep doing what you're doing. You're actually doing a good job and you will reap the rewards for the work that you are doing right now. So congratulations. All right. Next up, we've got Leo. Let's see what we've got for Leo for this week. Right, Leo, we've got the Three of Swords. So there's a little bit of sadness for you guys this week. This may have to do with all of the relationship stuff going on. Some of you may hear or find out of a betrayal. Maybe there is some cheating going on, some third party situation. I just see a broken heart. But here's the thing, Leo, and everyone for that matter. Things that break our hearts break them open. And I know that's so cliche to say, and I know that when you're in the midst of it, it definitely doesn't feel like that. But it's true. Things break your heart open. And I know me personally, it's been through my hardest breakups where I've discovered who the fuck I really was. And I feel like, Leo, that's exactly what you're going to be doing right now. Like through this devastation, through this heartache, you're really going to be discovering who you are. And when you know who you are, you can attract your energetic match. And so maybe this had to happen so you could get out of a situation that was not of your highest good. Okay. I know it hurts and I know it sucks, but there is a rainbow after the rain. All right. Just remember that. All right. Next up, we've got Virgo. Let's see what we have for Virgo. Okay, Virgo. We've got the King of Swords. So maybe this has to do with, was it Gemini that had this card or Taurus? One of those? Like maybe like someone's making a decision about you and communicating. Like it could be a Taurus or a Gemini that you're talking to, that's communicating to you, that has made a decision with respect to you or that concerns you. But yeah, I see communication. Like there's a decision that has been made and someone is ready to communicate this decision. So again, this may have to do with a Taurus or a Gemini in your life, but things are about to get very clear. And I feel like this communication is going to be crystal clear. I feel like there's not going to be any beating around the bush. I don't feel like you're not going to understand what this person is saying. Like it's very clear, whatever this decision is. So listen up, take the time to listen, or take the time to really express yourself. But I feel like it's a new situation that's going to begin. And it's going to begin on a very clear foot. Okay. So again, I feel like that has to do with, it's like you and Taurus or you and Gemini are linked up when it comes to this decision making or this communication. Okay. Next up, we've got Libra. Let's see what we've got for Libra for this week. Okay, Libra. We've got the Three of Cups, all right? Especially over the weekend, that Venus square Jupiter, like y'all are really going to be tapped into that energy. So I see a lot of socializing. This is like drinking. This is celebrating, all right? And Spirit is like, go ahead. You deserve it. Have a little fun. But again, moderation is key. Too much of this will have you hung over and not be able to go to work on Monday. I see this being like brunch on Sunday with bottomless mimosas. We all know how dangerous that could be. So indulge, have fun, but practice moderation. Okay. Next up, we've got Scorpio. Let's see what we've got for Scorpio. All right, Scorpio, we've got the Six of Cups. So You guys are starting to feel this energy of Venus retrograde in Leo already. So this is old loves coming back around, rekindling old flames. This could be revisiting a particular relationship issue. So it may not necessarily be someone from the past coming back around. It could be someone new, but they present the same kind of issues as someone from the past. And so it gives you an opportunity to learn, most importantly. Okay. And also, for some, I'm hearing like getting to the bottom of something. So if you have a certain insecurity or an emotional wound related to relationships, I feel like this is the time when you're starting to address it. You're starting to understand where it came from and why you've been perpetuating it. So I feel like this is a time that's going to be extremely eye-opening for you and very healing. Okay. All right. So now we've got Sagittarius. Let's see what we have for Sagittarius. We've got the Two of Wands. All right, Sag. So you guys are at a crossroads. Like, you got to figure out which way you want to go. I'm sorry. Hollow, I'm just looking at your comment and you're like, why you always know my business? I'm sorry. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm telling it like they're telling it to me. All right. So I'm glad that resonated for you. All right, Sag. So for you, we've got the Two of Wands. So you have this optimistic feeling. I feel like that full moon in your sign really gave you a real sense of adventure. And now it's like you feel like you're on top of the world. You see how he's holding the world in his hand? Like that's how you feel right now. Like you know the big picture. You've got your sights set high and you're just like, yes, I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to have this. You're feeling amped. You're feeling motivated and you're feeling optimistic about the future. Now, keep in mind that at some point you're going to have to decide which way you want to go. I feel like there may be this tendency to just stay in this euphoric state and be like, yes, I have the world in my hands. But it's not going to be any good to you if you don't actually go in a particular direction. Don't just stand at a crossroads and be like, oh, this is great. I've got two options. At some point, you're going to have to sort of make a decision. So it's not the case that you have to rush to make a decision, but understand that at some point you will. So you may want to prepare yourself for that. Okay. The next up, we've got Capricorn. Let's see what we've got for Capricorn. All right, Capricorn, we have the Star card. So you guys are feeling, there's this song that's coming into my head and it's called Superstar by Usher. Someone either really admires you or you really admire them. Like you guys are also going to be really tapping into that Venus and Leo energy. Someone feels like a superstar, okay? They feel like they're on the pedestal or they're looking at someone like they're on the pedestal. It's like you may be like the star in someone's eyes. Like someone, you may have a counterpart or even admirer that's like your biggest fan, your biggest supporter. But also, I feel like this Venus in Leo energy is going to be very cathartic for you. You know, I forgot which sign I was talking about. I think it was Leo. And I said, you know, heartbreak breaks your heart open, right? So for some of you, this Venus and Leo transit it's almost like it's washing your heart out. It's cleaning your heart out. And you're going to, I don't know, maybe you're going to be able to put yourself on the pedestal again. Maybe you're repairing your heart. But I feel like there's a cleansing and a certain energy of catharsis that this Venus in Leo transit is going to bring to you, and just allow it. I feel like for some of you, this may be an emotional time. So if you find yourself crying, allow yourself to cry, even if it's for no reason. I feel like you're actually undergoing some sort of a cleansing right now. So just allow it to happen. All right, next up, we've got Aquarius. Let's see what we've got for Aquarius for this week. All right, Aquarius, we've got the Fool. So you guys are ready to take the leap. You guys have this energy of newness, okay? And I think it has a lot to do with Pluto recently transiting into your sign and then transiting out. The brief period of time that Pluto was in your sign, which is literally like only 2 or 3 months, you are going to find that you already feel this energy of rebirth. Things may have ended And now you're at a point where it's like you've got a blank slate and you can do whatever you want with it. And you are ready like to just take the leap. You feel optimistic about it and you're just ready to embark on this new chapter. And so it's really important that you do so with a healthy sense of faith. Not even just faith in God or the universe, but more importantly, faith in yourself. So once you have that, there's no telling what you can do. So enjoy this new chapter and remember that you ultimately hold the pencil to your life. You can create whatever reality you want, whatever story, whatever narrative that you want to create. And I feel like that's the energy that you're tapped into right now and that you're so willing to just take a leap into. Okay. And then last but certainly not least, we've got Pisces. Let's see what we have for Pisces. Okay, Pisces. We've got the Six of Cups as well. Okay, so Scorpio got this card. So maybe this is a situation between you and Scorpio. And you also have the Ace of Swords. I'm laughing because it's like this person may be coming back and you're like, oops. Yes, you're like, I don't think so. I see you either cutting an old situation, like cutting through it, like someone's trying to come back and you're like, yeah, I don't think so. Or it's a relationship issue that you're finally getting rid of. Not only you're getting rid of it, but you're very clear on it. Like, let's say you realize that you had codependency issues and finally you're like, listen, I understand that in past relationships I had issues related to codependency. I'm not doing that anymore. And you just sort of make a line in the sand and you're like, yep, that was the past. This is the present and the future. And I'm no longer engaging in those kind of relationships, right? So I feel like you're getting very clear on a past relationship or a past relationship pattern, and you're cutting the fat and getting rid of anything that no longer serves you. All right, my loves. So that concludes this edition of the weekly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you got at least one valuable piece of information that you can use going forward into this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like information on any of my products or services, all of that information is going to be in the description box below. All right, I wish you nothing but the best for this week. Again, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in my next live. All right, take care and have an amazing week.